creative friends. My name is Joey Balistreri. Welcome to my work table. Today I'm back with another project using the bargain bead box for the month of October, and it was called Leafy Landscape. The first video that I did, this box literally arrived to me while I was waiting for my family to evacuate from the west coast of Florida, and this terrible hurricane was barreling toward my state and my home. And so I just really made a few, unboxed and did a few pairs of earrings with it. But it's such a pretty box and just so pretty for fall that I really wanted to continue working with it. So I've designed a bracelet that's going to be really cool and kind of mixed media. And then I've also designed a funky necklace using some connector bars. I'm going to further embellish the chain that came in the box. I've pulled a couple of little things from my stash. I had these little resin acorns with the antique brass top on them, and they match everything in the box really well. And there was a really gorgeous lobster claw clasp that came in the box. I mean, not lobster claw, that was really strong magnetic clasp, but I'm using lobster claw clasps for both of these designs. I want to save that clasp for another project. And then these gorgeous 4mm faceted agate beads. We had this whole long strand of these, and they were one of my favorite beads in the box. I just love all the colors. So I am going to be adding in another metal to my two projects, and it's going to be gold. So I have some muted gold 11-0 seed beads here. 8-0 seed beads here, and these are just called gold, but it's not a flashy gold, it's kind of a soft gold. And then I'm going to be using 20 gauge anti-tarnish gold wire. I love the Softflex company's wire. And for my bracelet, look at this, you guys, I'm going to be using the Softflex company's metallics line. They're antique brass, so it really matches the antique brass in the box. And I have cut 2 equal bracelet links for my bracelet. And so, as I said, I have a couple of projects going here. It has been almost 2 weeks since I've done any work. For most of you watching the news over the past weeks, it probably seemed like I was working straight through, but that's because most of the time my videos are filmed 2 to 3 weeks ahead of schedule, and they are edited and uploaded and scheduled to go onto YouTube. And I was really glad that I had done that, because I had a lot of animals in my house who were with upset stomachs because of the storm, and it was pretty chaotic here. My son is in a wheelchair, and he was also very upset, and it was, very stressful not knowing what was going to happen. We have a blessed outcome, I cannot say otherwise, but we're a little bit off. I have to say we're still a little bit off, but I'm happy to be back to work. So I am going to just show you what I'm doing with these little components and the seed beads. I am going to use my one-step looper, and I'm going to add in to this chain. And this is really just a simple connecting project. So I'm just going to get a loop in this piece of 20 gauge wire, just warm and straighten. And I get such good loops. I do like to work hard in my loops, but I get such good loops with this tool. And then I've just created this little pattern of one of the agate, the 4mm agate beads, one of these little 8-0 seed beads, another agate bead. Essentially like an odd number here is what I'm doing. And I just wanted to embellish this chain a little bit and add some interest to it. And the cool thing, whoops, I forgot the gold bead. The cool thing about the chain is that the links don't have to be cut. You can open them and reclose them again. So it makes a connecting project really fun when you have a chain like that. And I also will be using these agate beads in my bracelet. And I think I forgot to show you. Let me finish this component and I'll show you. I just wanted to give you an idea what I'm creating here. I have to make a few of these, not a lot, but I do want to make a few of these components, and I am just at random going to connect them into this chain. So I divided my last 2 pieces of chain that I have, and what I'm planning to do, I have these little connector bars. They have a 3-hole space. Let me put the wire in there So you can see they have 3 holes, but I'm only going to be using 2 holes, and I'm going to, I don't even know, this is going to be sort of a Y necklace, sort of a bolo necklace, almost like a faux lariat. I don't really know because I'm kind of mixing this up, but I'm going to connect these 2 little bars on my chain. And I realize it's going to be another one of my long necklaces, but I'm going to create a little pattern and connect these right, kind of make an intersection on the chain, and then on the rest of the length of the chain I'm going to add in some of these little components with the cords. And I'm going to use these leaves from the box and the little acorns from my stash, and I did pull out some nice thick antique bronze rings, and it's really just going to be a connecting project. And so then for my bracelet, I've already laid this out here. These are so cool, these leaf connectors. They are 2-sided, and so you can flip them any way that you want, and you can mirror them because they are 2-sided. And so I think that's going to work in my favor because I'm going to be coming out of these connector bars, attaching to these and mirroring these almost like earrings on the 2 ends of this bracelet, and then use jump rings to add it to these really cool large rings that I just had in my stash. I don't even know where I got them. So that is my plan for that. I am also going to be using some gold filled number 2 crimp tubes from Soft Flex Company to crimp this bracelet. And what else have I forgotten to share? So largely this is going to be kind of repetitive, but I will need to make a few of these. And what I did is I took my last bit of chain, because I cut into this chain for the earrings that I made, and I am going to just take a as I said, I'm adding in gold. So my accent gold is going to be this gold wire, and I'm just going to come to the back here and add a lobster claw clasp on to the back of this chain, and then I'll have my kind of center point, because I want my two chains that come down to be offset. So maybe that doesn't make any sense. You know, as I said, I'm just a little bit off because it has been a really chaotic week and I have not slept much. I did make a couple of pieces of jewelry for my sister-in-law. She was pretty low about everything, thinking she was probably going to lose her entire house. And so, you know, we had to wait. We had a lot of waiting and hanging around to do. So I did make a couple of pieces of jewelry, but like actually getting back to work, I feel a little bit disconnected today. But, you know, nothing to do except get back at it. I cleaned up my front yard this morning and cleaned up my front patio and put my autumn things out. So trying to feel a little bit better about all the destruction around me. I just want to make sure this is using a little antique brass ring as for my lobster claw to clasp onto, and I just want to make sure that it's perfectly closed. So now this is a good starting point. I have my clasp done, and so now I can kind of see where I want to add in. I should have done one project at a time for you guys, but I was separating out the leaf connectors and making sure that I would have enough. So what I'm going to do is take one of these little components, and as I said, this is just going to be at random, so I'm just going to pick a spot here to open up this chain, and the links are small, but they do open and close really easily and really nicely. So that's what I'm going to do. Just kind of open that and add in this little component. Probably make 5 or 6 of them. I just want to add a little bit of length to the chain that I had left and a little bit of interest. And then actually, with the simple loop components that I'm making, I can open either the component or the chain, whichever is easier. And I'm just going to add that in. Maybe. Okay, so it just is going to look like that. I'm just adding in that little pop of gold. I think it's such a pretty brightness with the antique color of gold. And I'm just going to do that down both sides of my chain a little bit to get some length here. Let me move this strand now. I'm going to just pull some beads off of it as I go. And so I will make a few more of those components and show you where I've attached these in. So for these little guys, I'm going to turn these into a 2-hole connector, and I'm going to do the same thing with my 20 gauge wire. I'm going to just get a simple loop, and you can definitely do your simple loops with your pliers here, but I really like the consistency of my one-step looper, and I've just become really, adept at using this. So I'm going to put a simple loop on that side, and then I'm going to thread on one of these little agate beads, and then I'm going to thread on this little connector on the far end, connector bar on the far end, and then another little agate bead. I have a little bit of a long piece of wire here, but I'm going to get that in my one-step looper, and that's one side of this component. And I can check and see. Looks like my loops are pretty lined up, but I like to align things. And so I'm going to do the same thing here, is put another simple loop in this piece of wire, and then thread it up the other side, and I think I'm going to do 2 of those. So, and I'm going to get a few more of these agate beads off the strand. So put the agate bead on, and then I'm going to go to the thread it through the end of the other end, the hole on the other end, and then just do the same thing. And now I can just ignore that this is down there and get another simple loop in there. Let's say if your loops become misaligned, you can always take 2 pairs of pliers and fix that afterwards. That second one, there's a little bit in your way, so actually they look pretty good. And so what I'm going to do is attach, I'm just going to pull out of the camera for 1 second and kind of put this around my own neck and just come up with the point where I want that first little bridge to be. Make a little space. Okay, and now I just have to find the length, the right length on this side. So I realize this is long and I'm going to be out of the camera, but all I'm doing is just figuring out where I want to open this side of the chain so that this little bridge will be straight across. Okay, so it's going to look like that, and I'm going to attach this to the bottom here. I see this loop needs a little attention. When you're doing a connecting, like this is just, you know, really a connecting project, opening and closing links, simple loops, and jump rings. That's the secret to it looking good and staying together, is just, you know, make sure that everything's closed really well. I always make sure I'm not in a hurry. So this is going to look like this. And I'm going to create another one of these, and I think do it maybe just above this. And then I'm going to create 2 more of these little segments and add them in, at least 2 more. So I'll just do that off camera because I'm going to be creating those simple components just like that, taking my 20 gauge wire, starting with a simple loop on one end, and just doing exactly what I just did, and opening and closing and getting everything connected. So I'm just going to do that off camera, finish making the components, and then I'll come back. It'll just be a second for you, and I will show you how I'm going to do the drops with the leaves on the bottom of my necklace. This is so beautiful, you guys. I love the way this is turning out, but it is going to be very difficult for me to really show it to you on my beading mat, so I will have to put it on my Gabriella Eva model and do some pictures at the end, but I'll just kind of stretch it out a little bit. So my bead stations that I added in to embellish the chain are completely at random. So let me start at the clasp and just kind of give you an idea how it's going to look. So it's just plain chain, and then you can see the 2 bead stations on either side, and then a little bit more chain, and it's just completely at random. And then when you get down to the 2 little bridge components, there's 2 with 3 pieces or 4 pieces, not pieces, 4 links of chain in between each one. And then as you go down to these 2 little dangling drops that are going to have the charms on the end, I decided to really randomize by doing only odd, like smaller components here, only 1 on this side and 2 even smaller ones on this side. So in person, this is so delicate, but so interesting and just really beautiful. So I've kind of worked out what I want to do here. I had some of these antique brass rings just in my stash, and these were like the last 2 sizes that I had. And so I'm going to mirror these leaf components. I'm going to add in these different size rings, this little acorn, this little, I love the pine cone, these sweet tiny little pine cones that were in the box. I really love these leaves, but I'm going to just kind of alternate, and they're just going to be not matchy on the end, but I do want to connect everything with the gold jump ring. So I'm going to take that same 20 gauge wire that I've been doing the components out of, and my favorite bail making plier, and I'm going to use the smallest one and just make some jump rings for kind of connecting everything here at the bottom of my necklace. So I'm just going to make a coil and then cut right up the middle of the coil, so I have matching jump rings. Anti-tarnish. The soft flex wire is amazing for the colors and the gauges, and all anti-tarnish, and I love their wire. So it's one of my favorite things to do. It's very classic to make a beaded chain or a bead stations in a chain, and I love connecting things this way. So from here, I'm just going to take my flush cutters, and right where I started coiling with the flush side, just snip 1 ring at a time up the coil. I got these really great, inexpensive 2-pack of flush cutters, and they are so nice and sharp. I've been linking them under all my videos because it's something that I neglected to do. I had a really old pair, and it's so nice to have nice sharp cutters if you're making jump rings. And as I was doing this, I was thinking this is just such a lovely connecting project, literally opening and closing links and jump rings and simple loops, and just like really basic jewelry skills, but really creating something so interesting. So I'm going to attach a gold jump ring and then my nice big I cannot talk today, my antique brass ring to that. And as I said, I'm just going to alternate the gold because the gold is just kind of a nice accent, kind of brightening everything up. And I'm going to take another jump ring, and if you can see how I have my leaf connectors out here, they are mirroring each other. They're two-sided, and they're wonderful because you can flip them this way or that way so that you can get your connections however you want. I mean, I'm connecting everything really beautifully, but these two downward drops on this necklace will move around and dangle and be really lovely. But you know, I'm going to start out with everything going in the direction I want it in. Fix that. Okay, so I have that little side done, and then I'm just going to add my larger leaf to the bottom of that, and then add my acorn to the ring on this side. Super easy. Okay, and I'm going to, let's see, I think I'll just use the little ring that came on this. And for my American friends, these little acorns, I have had them in my stash for a really long time, but they came from our national chain Hobby Lobby, and it's the Explorer. I don't know if they're still available, but that's what they are. They certainly are beautiful with our bargain bead box collection this month. So that is what that is, if any of you really love them. Okay, so I have like a little charm. It's so pretty. It's hanging above the leaf, and this is another one of my really long necklaces, and I really like that because when this is around my neck, these beautiful detailed little elements will be hanging where I can see them, and I really love that in a design. I tend to enjoy my necklaces a little bit more. And so I'm just going to repeat the same thing on this side, but it's not too matchy because I have a different size ring, and I'm going to put one of the pine cone charms on this side. You can see this needs to be the link on my chain needs to be closed. Okay, this beautiful necklace is done. It is so gorgeous, you guys, and I know it's impossible for you to really see, but let me try to lay it out. Oh, it has such a pretty jingle to it. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait to wear this necklace. I made it dramatic and long, as I always do, but you know, a design like this, if you like it, you can definitely modify the length. The length. You could do these components quite a bit shorter. You could do all of them really short, the way I did the one on the drops, you know, or use less chain. You know, you could definitely modify this, but I do love the drama. I love because it's so petite and light. So this long beautiful movement. I've been watching these Hallmark movies that are really old, the Good Witch series, and they had the costume designer in that series did the most amazing jewelry for the actresses in that, and I get really inspired, and I've noticed that they used really long, my cat is running around the house interrupting me, but anyway, I guess I've been watching, I've been like streaming some of those old Good Witch movies, and that gave me this idea. So I'm gonna put up some pictures at the end, and I'm gonna set this aside and we'll do the bracelets. So I did, when I finished making all the components, I did crimp right onto this leaf component with my magical crimping plier and feed my little spacer bar right on there. And so I'm going to do the same thing on this side, but I want to flip this over and make sure that when I string it through that I am mirroring in fact, yeah, I'm going to do it. Let me switch this to, I want this little loop to be on the outside. So these little leaf connectors are so cool. So I'm just going to essentially do that same thing with the other piece of wire here. This is again that metallics, and I'm going to put the crimp tube on and feed it right through this loop. Do I have that right? Let me make sure that I'm not making a mistake. That's right there, like that. And then back down through the crimp tube. It will not get away from me. Just make a loop and feed it back down through that crimp tube. I want to use those 4mm faceted agate beads in between these connector bars for this bracelet so that it matches my necklace and the earrings that I made in the other video, but they have a very small hole, so I will not be able to get both wires through those. So I'm just trying to not waste a lot of wire here. So that's what I have, is just made a loop, and it's going back through the crimp tube, and I'm just going to put my magical crimping plier in there, squeeze it closed. I can see that I've pinched all 4 corners, and go in the opposite direction, squeeze again, and just go around a few times, turning that tube into a little gold bead. Looks really nice against the antique bronze or brass. So just like that. And so now I am going to lay these out so that I don't get, let me trim this a little bit, lay these out so that I don't get lost in my own pattern here. And like, I've considered stringing up one side and then the other, but I think that I'll be better able to see what I'm doing if I do them in tandem like this. Let's feed that little wire. That one can get trimmed a little bit more. Just want to make sure my cut end is hiding inside that little connector bar. Okay, so I'm going to start out, it's going to look like that, but I want to make sure before I crimp that these are staying. For now they won't, but when I do crimp the other end, I do want to make sure that they're staying mirrored like that. And now I am just going to use up the rest of these little 4mm agate beads that are faceted, and I am not even sorting through color wise. I'm just taking them off the strand as they came, and I am going to do a spacer bead, one of those same gold seed beads in between each one. I really want to add that little pop of gold. It's so pretty. And here's where you can also adjust this design if you like it. You know, I'm going to be making negative space in between these connector bars, so you can make it as little or as much as you like. And I'm really uncertain of my length here, so there may be a little bit of on and off for me with this design to get my length just right. But I'm going to proceed just like this, stringing these connector bars on, and you know, see about getting about a 7-inch bracelet that way. So let me just show you what my plan is. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and maybe it would be easier to do this first in this design, but here I'm going to add one of these large rings using 2 gold jump rings, and maybe if I go ahead and do that on one end, it will kind of hold things in position a little bit better. So I'm just going to find when I'm doing a connecting puzzle like this that it's helpful to leave it flat on my beading mat. I can always go back and tidy up the closures, but this way I can definitely see where I'm going. These are jump rings from that same 20 gauge wire. I had made a few ahead of the project. Okay, so that's the plan, is for that to be like that when I'm finished stringing. So I'm going to continue and kind of work out my length, continue alternating the gold seed beads with these agate beads and the spacer bars to my desired length, and I will check back in. Okay, you guys won't believe this, but I literally guessed just right on my length using every single one of the connector bars and with those 4 beads. So I did not have to take this off at all. And this is not crimped. I just ran my wire through and did the same thing here that I did on this end. And I did that so that I could literally just drape it over my arm and see how my length is going to be. And all I'm going to do is add this lobster claw to one of the ends, and then it will clasp on. So I can go ahead and do that same thing again with the magical crimping plier. I just want to make sure that my leaf components are laying the way that I want them to, and that my loops are about the same size on both ends. So this final crimp, you're really committing. So I want to, just like always, make sure that I have movement, but that there's no weird gaps. I want the bracelet to be fluid. This is so gorgeous. And then I'm going to do the same thing. This side will be a little bit more challenging because I have to, you know, get my crimping plier in this space. But let me do it. And you know, you could definitely do a fold over crimp method here. I just really like my magical crimping plier, and then I don't feel like that I need to come in with a crimp cover bead. I'm going to go ahead and turn this and do this side as well, and then I'll finish the crimp. Finish crimping them in my hand. Little bit challenging to get your plier to go around. Just kind of have to fit in between the strands. But I got it. that looks amazing. Really, really pretty. Okay, let's trim away. And then I am going to use those gold jump rings that we already made to add on the lobster claw clasp and the 2 charms that I have left, so it will coordinate with the necklace. I have this beautiful acorn and this little pine cone. Both ends are the same, so it does not matter which end I put my lobster claw clasp on. I do sometimes like to do the double jump ring method of connecting, and if these little holes in the leaf connectors will accommodate a double jump ring, I'm going to give it a go and see, because it would add a little bit of security to these large rings, but also it just looks great, especially since this gold wire is really my accent. So let me take a couple of these extra jump rings and see if they fit. Sometimes the holes on a connector will not handle, space-wise, will not handle. You don't always know until you try. These look a little bit small. Well, it's in there. Close it and see if it's going to still have that nice movement. Well, that's nice. I think it's going to work. Oh, that is so pretty. I love the look of the double jump rings. Very, very pretty. Okay, same thing on this end. And I just need to go in these are more jump rings that I've made, just to get one for the little pine cone, and just decide if I want to attach them on the ring, or I find it. This is a little bit of an unusual design, so I could attach it right to one of the rings, and that's what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to put the acorn first, because it's larger, and then add the little pine cone right in front of it. Whoops. These acorns have a really, really, they must be solid brass, really thick gauge on the jump rings, and these would make such cute earrings, but I really liked separating them and having a charm on my necklace and then a charm on my bracelet, so I have a gorgeous set. Okay, that's on, and the little pine cone is the last thing. Is the cutest bracelet. I love this so much. It is so pretty and just beautiful with my necklace, which, as I said, is so long. I know it's going to be difficult for you to see, and I literally cannot wait. I love the little jingle. It's like a charm necklace. It has that little sound of a charm bracelet, and it's so nice because these leaves are so dimensional. They look as beautiful on the back as they do on the front, and as well as the connectors, the leaf connectors. So these are the perfect elements for making a jewelry that's going to dangle around. So I'm going to clean up my mat, definitely take some more pictures, better pictures, so you can see all the details. I highly encourage you guys to try this if it's a design that you like, because it is super easy. If you have basic jewelry skills, you can definitely do this. And these connector bars were from my stash. I've had them for a long time. I bought them at one of the bead shops in South Orlando in my travels. But when I edit this video and do all of the links, I will look for something exact or similar and try to link it. For those of you that really like the look of this, they did match really well with this finish. But any connector bar that you have, look around, look in your stash. You may be surprised what you have that you could do this with that you already own. And if you're not subscribed to the Bargain Bead Box, getting it every month, I do have a discount code, and I'll put that in the description box as well. And it's really fabulous. We always get just under $100 worth of supplies for $22.95, and you get free shipping if you're in the United States, and they do ship internationally as well. Plus you get a coupon code that is good for 30% off your whole order, as many orders as you want, over and over again, you know, through the month, on the sister website, Beadbox Bargains, which is where you can often find connector bars and other really pretty things, and get box extras. So anything that is left over, they put them for sale on the website. So if you loved a bead in the box, you can usually go get some more. So I thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody is safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. And I'm so happy to be back to work and be alive and well and have a roof on my house. So I will see you in the next video. Ciao, creative friends.